What is up, everybody? I'm Sean.
And I'm Tom. And we're
we're
the Block
the Block Bros.
Bros.
Fuck you, bros. It was going so well. We almost did it. I feel like that one was on purpose. You should have seen his face, guys. He was like, he waited me out. He knew what I was doing. Like, that's your fault.
it's all my bad. Yeah.
Well, welcome to your least favorite podcast, Block Bros and Dating Games podcast. Tom, tell me about your week.
Pretty good week for the most part. It was a pretty good weekend, we played Mjorkberg and we rolled terribly against goblins, so that was like the start of my weekend. To be fair, I was rolling to hit them. I just couldn't roll to damage them at all. So it was a bad time for like everybody. And now my character is wandering aimlessly through the biggest city in the world. Other than that, went to a reptile show the other day, and I've never been to like a reptile like convention, but there was like everything there. I've never seen like a $5,000 snake before, but they're crazy. I wandered out. I of course I ended up buying something, so I bought a leopard gecko, and his name is Sebastian. I don't know if you.
Cute.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think he's gonna show up as shit if I like show him, but like he's just such a cute little guy. I was gonna bring him out, but holding on to him, and I feel like trying to like talk is going to be physically impossible because he will wrestle around for the first few minutes, just climbing about. But man, I just seen him, and it's one of those things where you hold something and you fall in love. I was like, I'm already attached to this little leopard gecko, so I had to walk out with him.
That's adorable. And like the fact that you did it in like negative like 15-degree weather is crazy. Like I can't believe they even had the convention in that kind of weather with reptile.
Oh yeah. No, the guy who bought it from, I'm like, so like is it like cool if like cuz he had two people there, I'm like, could they like hold him while I load everything like into my car, and then you just wait by the entrance at the very end, and I just, park up and get him cuz I didn't want to carry him like freaking a quarter mile all the way back. Like
that'd be just dangerous for the fucking gecko.
Right?
Honestly.
Right. I held a praying mantis for the first time too. I almost bought him because he was so cool. I was like, I've never held one before, but I've always wanted to. So that was like one of the coolest experiences I've had. Like I've never been into bugs, but mantises are really cool too. So
yeah, they're really unique in the bug category for sure. What did I do? I ran the Mjorkberg adventure as I always do.
Yeah.
I was really tired. This is just like a fun little fact. I've literally never slept before a Mjorkberg adventure that I run. Like I don't know why. Like I just like stay up really late by accident, or I get too drunk or something. But like I always get like an hour of sleep before I run it. So I'm always just like fucking the worst exhausted person during the adventures. So I passed out like literally right after. Like they finished the adventure, and I was like, okay, cool. And I just went to bed. Like with people still at my house. Other than that, I've just been doing a lot of school, which has been absolutely dumb and hell. I don't understand anything that I'm learning, but that's fine. I just have to get through it. They have us applying for jobs and stuff, so I'm having like some pretty bad imposter syndrome. I'm like, I'm gonna get like into an interview and be like, I don't even know why the fuck I'm here, kind of vibe. So hopefully it works out. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've been doing is just school, streaming, and hanging out with you guys. But yeah, that's me right now. Let's talk about what game we picked for tonight. Do you wanna introduce it?
Yeah, we're talking about Slay the Spire. It's a really cool roguelike dungeon crawler deck building game. Like, yeah, that sounds like a lot of categories, and that's because it is like thrown into one fucking game. So Slay the Spire, like I said, it's a roguelike deck building game. It was made by Megacrit. You play as one of four different kind of characters on your way to the top of a spire, essentially. To be honest, like we normally cover a lot of storyline, but I'm gonna tell you already, there's not gonna be much to say ahead of time. But like, it's a really cool concept for a dungeon crawler, and it was my kind of first experience kind of with like a deck building game like this. Not like I haven't played a lot of deck building games before, but I think they really did a good job with this one. So,
For sure. And actually, Tom introduced me to this game a while ago. Like, I don't even
mhm.
remember. Like, when we first were toying with the idea of having a podcast, he was like, you should play Slay the Spire. Like, I think you'd really like it. You should play. He's messaged me probably like 30 times, dude. I swear to God.
Yeah,
And I just like didn't. I was like, yeah, when I have it, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. I'll get to it. But I've been doing this thing lately where I realized I have far too many games that I've never touched. Like, I have like, I don't even a library of probably like 600-700 games easy across all platforms. And I'm just like, I save a lot of games because I think I'm gonna play them on stream, and then I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna get to all of these games on stream. Like at most, I play like one new game a week, which is a lot for most people, and that's only 52 games a year. So like, I'm never gonna get through all of them on stream. You know what I mean? So I was just like, I'm just gonna start playing games that I don't think I'll play on stream by myself when I'm up late at night with depression. So I started playing Slay the Spire, and honestly, this entire week it has been a crippling addiction for me.
yeah,
I cannot stop playing it. But I agree with Tom. It is a very interesting take, as I'm sure you will hear and see later in the game on a roguelike for sure. The deck building aspect is just so wild with it. But with that being said, I think for the first time ever, we're gonna skip the storyline because there is no storyline.
get to the top of the spire. That's the
Yeah.
story. Like there
We
ain't.
couldn't find anything on the storyline. You play one of four characters and you try to get to the top of the spire. There you go. There's the
I
storyline. Not
dug
even
for 40 minutes through Reddit pages and fucking everything, y'all. Like I was like, where are you, Slay the Spire? Because I know like most roguelikes are like really hidden and have like deep kind of hidden story, but like, nope, none on this one. I will tell you. I was like, damn, okay,
it
okay.
is kind of wild that there is no story. I totally agree with that. But if if you guys know something we don't, make sure to let us know on our socials or in the comments or whatever. With that being said, we're just gonna jump right into graphics and art then.
Graphics and art.
And I will pull it up on the screen next to us. And Tom, you want to take the reins on graphics and art? Or do you want me to?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go ahead. It's been really cool. I love how this game looks. Again, it's another like kind of hand drawn art style kind of game. Like all the cards are unique and especially fit like each of the characters you play as. I think all the enemies, backgrounds, and everything are really cool ones that I haven't quite. I mean, you see your typical ones in dungeon crawlers. I think this one goes a little bit beyond that. I mean, such as like a wishing fucking whale. Like I've never.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I've encountered him a lot. So
Yeah,
every time I
yeah,
see him, I'm like, oh yeah, it's you again.
yeah. It just has like this kind of like. I'm not sure how to describe this art style, but it's a really cool hand drawn one. It kind of reminds me of like a more better version of the Don't Starve, just in more of a medieval dungeon crawler theme, but done better. I don't know. I think that's like the best I can kind of describe the art forms of this game. But
Definitely. I think that it's incredibly unique. I don't have anything I can compare it to directly, but I will say that it is a unique looking game. The enemies are all really weird looking. Your characters are very weird looking. It's like Tom said, like there's a lot of fantasy involved with it. I mean, it's called Slay the Spire. I would put it in like a dark dungeon kind of art style. That's definitely what I would assume that it would be.
yeah,
Almost there are some points there's not a lot of movement in this game. I'll say that there's not a lot of traditional movement. Like when you think of a roguelite, there's all this like movement and like a lot of effects and stuff. But with this game, it's different because it is a deck builder game. So you get the traditional like when you're playing like Final Fantasy, the original Final Fantasies, or like any JRPGs from like a while back, where you like do something, so you have turn actions where it shows like your character barely move and slash, and it does like a certain amount of damage. Like that's what the graphics look like in this game. And to me, usually that'd be like something I'm not inherently interested in, but something about the way this game actually looks and plays and how smooth it is really brings it over what I usually have an aversion to in those types of games. Like I really like the art that they chose for this game because it's simple, but it fits what the game's about.
Yeah, honestly, I really like the way like all your card abilities always look in this game because like each one you can instantly tell like when you cast your card ability, you can see it clearly on the character which one it does. Like a sword slash looks like a sword slash, fireballs look fireballs. Like it's very confirming effect, you know, and I really like that kind of stuff, you know. It kind of reminds me of I don't know. It reminds you of a kid when you used to play card games and you wish you could imagine how they were real and how they would turn out to be, and this is how they would kind of look in your imagination, I think, you know. So it's
Definitely.
pretty
Yeah.
cool.
I definitely don't think that this game blows my mind with graphics. I will never say that.
Mhm.
I didn't play this game for the graphics. The things that they have in it are very cartoonish and they look cartoonish, but in a very appeasing way. Like I said, there's nothing crazy or major going on. Most of it's like standing still, like bouncing up and down, kind of like that kind of vibe for animation. The backgrounds are very stagnant. But again, I wouldn't play this game specifically if you're looking for a graphically intense game. I would
Right.
honestly like this. This may come across as negative, but I do not mean it in any negative connotations. I would compare this game's like graphics to like a mobile game almost.
Oh yeah. I mean, it could get away with a mobile port, no problem.
That's definitely what it reminded me of when I was playing it, but also it suits the game itself. What I will say is that there is a lot of text boxes in this game. Not in a bad way, like you don't have to read because it's not like a story thing, but like if you want to know the effects of something, you're gonna have to read it. So if that's not your thing, then I totally understand. But if you ever played a card game like Magic the Gathering, Hearthstone,
Yeah.
Glint. Was it Glint?
Yeah.
Is that the Witcher? The Witcher one? Yeah, like
Gwent.
TFT,
Yeah. Yep.
Gwent. Yeah, stuff like that. Like those. It's all very similar to your traditional card or deck builder games, with the fact that the graphics and the text are similar to that.
Yeah. Honestly, like if you've played any card building game, you kind of know what you're getting into learning a new card kind of game, you know. This one is definitely more about like I think this is like the most simple kind of take on a card building game you could have out of recent time than in a fact that I think like a 10-year-old could probably pick it up and have no problem with it, which is saying I mean, granted, like a lot of I feel like 10-year-olds can pick up any kind of card game now and play them, but you know, like I mean,
I feel like you're stuck in the 10-year-old part, Tom. Calm down. I'm kidding. But
I'm
yeah, I don't
sorry,
know.
but you see them enter those Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments, and you see like them go up against like a 25-year-old, and you're like, you don't know what you're
Decimate 'em.
getting into, boy. When your best card is like fucking, ugh, no. I'm sorry, you're gonna get comboed out of this bitch.
But no, there's not much to say about the graphics and art. It's a very simplistic game, but it's simplistic in a good way. I stand by that. It kind of reminds me of a mobile port. That's definitely my biggest take on the graphics and art for sure. Did you have anything else, Dad?
No, honestly, this is like a. I think the simplicity of it plus the dungeon elements kind of give you an overarchingly beautifully hand drawn game that gets the point across. By the way, I entirely blew out all of that in that sentence. So,
Well, Jesus Christ. Well, with that being said, this is gonna be our worst rated episode. I guarantee it. With that being said, let's move on to sounds and music.
Sounds and music.
I'll take the reins on this one, Tom. Don't worry about it. Sounds and music. I again really feel like the sounds and music of this game are very well done. They're very again simplistic, but in a way that complements the game and the elements of the game. I mean, like when you attack something, it makes a sword sound. You know, when you hit him with a spell, it makes a spell sound. When you get gold, there's a gold sound. When you get a potion, it sounds like you're drinking a potion. You know, sounds. I'm trying to like move my glass so you can hear the water or the drink in it. Sounds like that, you know. It sounds like wetness. When you enter a shop, actually, this is one of my favorite parts. When you enter a shop, the shopkeeper goes like, "Rah!" Like it's like a little like shopkeeper sound. So like the sounds work out really well, even if they are incredibly simplistic. They make the game better by default. The music is also really good. I will say it is a little repetitive, but I didn't seem to mind it. I turned it down a little bit and just played the game. Like barely, this game is really simple, so you can just like lean back and play it and not have to worry about it. So the music being repetitive wasn't a drawback for me personally, as I know that other games where the music is repetitive, it gets really annoying.
Yeah, honestly, I think the music suits this game very well. Honestly, like it kind of after a while, I find myself like will listen to other music, but that just comes after a long time with playing any game. I feel like this, you'll just kind of like, but it doesn't like ever feel bad listening to this game, if that makes sense. Like I played it recently for an hour and it was enjoyment, just pure listening to each of the sounds and the music in this game. I thought it suited the art style very well.
Yeah, I feel like that. Like I said, I feel like they complemented each other incredibly well. Like everything about it is super simple, but like not in a bad way.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's move on to features and content.
Features and content.
So, for everyone who doesn't know, if this is your first time on the podcast, features and content is kind of where we throw everything that doesn't quite fit in nicely into another category. Also, an FYI, this is probably going to be a shorter episode as this is a smaller game. With that being said, Tom, where do you want to start with features and content?
Ooh, definitely. I like to always kind of start on like the bread butter main kind of draw of this, which is definitely deck building to me. Like, I mean, the
For sure.
whole entire like, this kind of feeds into everything later, but I personally like, and I know Sean too. We grew up like playing like Magic the Gathering and going to like tournaments and playing like card games and stuff. So to like me, this is a super appealing kind of game. Like just any kind of card builder. But I've never quite seen one in the rogue kind of way that this kind of plays off, and I think that adds another level of deck building in that. And what I mean is you start kind of like with like your base kind of deck, right? Each of the character you choose has their own kind of deck, but you build it as you go through the dungeon, adding cards, subtracting cards, like putting better ones in, trying to get better combos out. And that feeling is just so addicting in this game. It makes you just want to come back and experiment. Like no hand you get ever feels the same. And the rush of getting like such a good combo to like one shot some like really hard enemies is like prime in this game. It never gets old. Building a new deck, building a new hand, adapting your style and play style to like suit this game. It's such a good like thing for this kind of rogue style game that it fits it perfectly, and I can't believe nobody's done it before.
Definitely. I mean, I have a lot to add, but it's basically me repeating the same thing, so I apologize in advance. But like, we did grow up playing Magic the Gathering. I still do. I played a lot of other card games. I played Hearthstone. I played trying to think like other card games. But like what I think Tom nailed is there's definitely I've never seen anything that combines roguelike and deck building. Like that is completely foreign. Those two things do not sound like they should ever be in the same zip code, much less game. You know what I mean? Like that's not, those are two foreign concepts. But this works effortlessly because it takes the idea that you're slowly getting better, and when you die you lose everything and it's a new adventure, and brings that to deck building, which is what I think is so addictive. Because for me, the reason that I fell out of playing a lot of deck building games is because it's so repetitive. Like you hit a meta, everyone wants to do the same shit all the time. It's boring. In this game, every single like time you play it, no matter what character you play, no matter what challenge you face, you're gonna have a completely separate deck. You're gonna get better or worse things depending. It's that element of randomness that just adds that like chef's kiss to this game for sure. For me, anyways. I know that a lot of people like structure and rigid baseline stuff. The element of randomness literally had me playing this game till like 7 a.m. the other day when I had to get up at 8. So I was playing it, and I'm like, I died on one of the boss fights, and I was like, I could probably do another run. Like, it's fine. I just want to see what happens next time, it's that thing that keeps me coming back is the element that you never get the same deck every single time you play. It's so wild. And also just like the roguelike elements as well keep me going. The random chance encounters, the special items, the curses, the status effects, which we'll get to later, all of that just the chance that you might get any of that in any run adds so much to this game that you wouldn't get from playing Hearthstone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's honestly like probably one of my favorite deck builders I've played recently, which is why I've been trying to get you to play, because I'm like, I know you're gonna fucking get addicted to this shit just because like it's just it never gets stale. You know, you're never using like the same deck, which in like face to face it's fine, but over online when you're just doing the same thing over and over again, it gets boring after a while, you know. So
I personally, and this is just a hot take, I personally don't understand people that like have like, even when I did play like Magic in person with my friends, like I would always bring like chaos decks, like things that would just fuck up everything. I live, and this is true, I've said this on the stream all the time, I live by one specific rule: if I can't win, I'm going to spoil.
right. And if you ain't playing Planes Chase with your friends, you're playing your decks wrong, because like that adds so much level of chaos that everybody hates, but I personally love. It's like basically Magic the Gathering adds Mario Kart rules. So, you know,
Makes no sense, and it was beautiful.
Get some Plane Chase cards if you play Magic the Gathering, is what I say, and fuck over your friends' decks. Like,
same with yeah, and this is not, we're not paid by, I wish we were fucking affiliated with Hasbro. No, but we along the same lines, go get fucking Jumpstart. Jumpstart's really fun too for veteran or new players. It just makes you combine two random decks into the same deck and play with that. So it's different every time. It's like this, but the deck building concept is really important. And just so everyone's on the same page, there's 4 main characters. Everyone has like different like things that are unique about them. All their cards are unique, but basically you have like strikes, blocks, abilities, and skills. I think, or no, powers and skills. Like those are the 4 basic card types, and every character has individual components built into their kits that play through to one of those 4 things. But it's a basic deck building thing. Like Tom said, any kid could pick this up and play it and have a good time with it. Even if you have no idea what you're doing, it's super simple. You get 3, basically you get 3 mana or energy or whatever a turn to start with, and your card has a little number on it, and if it's less than 3, you could play it. It's that simple.
Yeah. It's
brain dead easy.
Yeah, it's super simple to understand, and really like it takes quite a bit of thought to adapt your strategy and get the perfect combo every time. Like, so I love is like no matter what, you have to constantly be adapting your strategy in order to get to like the top of the game, and that's what I kind of like, and that's why the randomness comes into it, because like it's so different the amount of times you have to adapt as the game goes on. You'll kind of like get your base hand and kind of know how to play and get the combos, but your combos are going to get even better or sometimes even worse depending on your draws, and like no matter
and
what,
your choices too, they make a big difference as well. But I completely agree with Tom that like it's really simple to pick up and really difficult to do really well.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really a nice concept for a game, and especially for it really, I will say, it embodies all the aspects of all the genres that it's going for. Like it embodies the aspects of deck building that you want, and embodies the aspects of roguelikes that you want. And I think that's really cool to see, because I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, oh man. It's the main draw of this game, and it's ever addicting. Like it'll keep making you want to come back. So
all right, sick. Well, let's talk about another main component of the game, which is the characters. I kind of briefly mentioned that earlier, but just to get a little deeper into it, there's 4 main characters, guys. There's the Ironclad, which you start out with, the Silent, the Defect, and the Watcher. Each of them, like we previously stated, have different base decks and different base abilities and different base stats. And then they all have different like play style. I would say they all have different play styles. I'm not an expert on this game, but I would say they all feel different to play because I played all of them and they all feel different to play. I don't know if that means that my play style adapted or if they actually all feel different.
Yeah, no, they are definitely all so different, and that's what keeps you wanting to come back and play each one of them and make sure you get like a run through with each one, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And run throughs, by the way, guys, are not crazy long. I mean, like, so basically, you want to get through 3 different acts, I think, and at the last act is the last boss. So, I would say like it's like an hour and a half to get through the entire game in one run. You probably won't get through it in your first run, but if you do, you're better at this game than I was. But it's not a terribly difficult game to grasp and understand, and the play of it is not incredibly long, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's about an hour to get through. Like, I'd say if you want to like beat the game, you know, most playthroughs are going to be shorter because like most of the time, I'd say your first like probably like 10, 15 times, you're probably not going to make it through the first run, you know. But
Well, that and it's completely situational. Like you might get a better deck sometimes and a worse deck other times. So like it is completely there's a randomness factor to actually completing the game, which plays a part in it as well. But did you happen to have a favorite character, Tom?
defect probably like the wombo combos he can get are really cool with his orbs. Like I really like playing him, you know, like I don't know, he could just like generate like a lot of stuff with him and it just led to some really good combos. Like especially like early, like you can without like picking up a lot of cards. I remember I could always just make it through like the first boss fight with him, just no problem, you know. So
Yeah, definitely. I actually recently have gotten decently into Defect. He's not my favorite, but he is a close second. My favorite would definitely be the Silent, which I think is like a crowd favorite as well.
yeah.
Just because like it's super simple. Like a lot of your cards cost 0, and you do a lot of damage and a lot of poison damage. So like you said, how you could just always get through things pretty easy. I feel like I wombo comboed like okay, so this is just like a humble brag. I was playing it the other day, and I was on the second boss, I think, and it had like 400 health, and I did 400 health in one turn. It was ridiculous. Like I was like I got the perfect hand, and I was just wombo comboing so hard, and I literally like it was like 4 a.m. and I got up out of my chair and I was like, that was so sick.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny when it's just poison, stab, 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 poison, 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 stab. Like fucking
Yeah, and like everything costs 0, so you can just keep throwing things at it.
yeah, it's kind of just broken after a while, you know, getting the perfect. But honestly, you'll get that one hand, and the next fucking hand in the next match, you might get absolute shit. Like you never fucking know what you're gonna draw. Honestly, next kind of hand, and you know, unlike Magic the Gathering, you can't redraw your fucking hand. Like so,
Well, some cards give you the option to redraw your hand, but that's a whole
yeah,
other thing.
yeah. I was gonna say intricacies of
There's no
getting into
mulligans. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
there's no mulligans when you draw your first hand. I totally get what you're saying, yeah.
right, like. Yeah, the amount of cards, like, and the amount of times you go past a merchant, like, sometimes I find myself just getting rid of, like, cards and, like, just having, like, just such a small amount that I can just, like, enter, like, a really good combo almost every time, no matter what, just because, like, I have such few cards that I know work really well together. And it's, like, really nice to, like, build your deck based on your character and based on your situations, just knowing that and knowing this game, you know?
And also based on like what you want to play like. Like that's a big other part of it. It's just like you were saying, like you can like remove like we'll get to that too. Like you can remove cards from your deck via certain means in the game. And like so if you don't want to get the chance of having that in the hand, you could remove it. You know, statistically you'll have a better chance of getting the hand you want then. Like it is a really interesting way to design a roguelike and a deck builder to make sure that you got to be chronically thinking about this game is a roguelike and then also be like, but it's also a deck builder.
Right.
So I think that's a really cool way of handling things. But yeah, no, to get back to the point that I was making, that there are 4 main characters, and we went through them: the Ironclad, Silent, Defect, and Watcher, and each of them are different. So if you're looking for a specific play style or a specific kind of character, there's definitely options there. And personally, the only one I didn't like was Ironclad because I just thought it was kind of boring.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of sword and fire strikes. Like it's a lot of He has a lot of good moves, but his costs are really high. So I think he's a lot harder to play and get combos off right away. So
Definitely, but when you hit like a truck. So like
True.
there's trade offs, but like that's what I'm saying. There is a little something for everyone in this game. I would definitely say. Um, moving on from that, what would you like to talk about next?
Probably like there's definitely like we mentioned it a little bit when we were talking about the deck building, but the statuses and curses you can get in this game.
Mhm.
That's a really cool thing I think this game adds, and that basically means is some are by turn like basis things, so they'll like affect like just your fight you're in, but some of them affect like your whole game, and some are just either debuffs or basically buffs. I'm not It's so crazy because some of them like absolutely fuck over your whole game plan out of nowhere. Like you'll be running and you'll be having like the best run you've ever done, and then you'll get a curse, and like absolutely your deck just never works anymore because like it literally just minuses the one thing you need. Welcome to this game. Like
Yeah, it is that element of randomness giveth, and the element of randomness taketh away.
right.
It's very interesting, I would say. I think that another part of this game that is very interesting that's related to what we're talking about right now is when you are playing, the game is incredibly transparent about what your enemy is going to do and what the enemy does. Like before you start your turn, it'll show what they're going to do on their turn. And like usually that would sound like, oh man, that sucks. Like I don't want to see that. I want to be surprised. But like this game would be impossible to play, I feel like, or like way harder to play without knowing what your enemy is going to do and what that effect actually does, because you have to be able to plan for it. Otherwise, you are absolutely fucked, especially with the limited amount of cards you have in your deck, limited amount of cards you have in your hand, and the limited amount of cards you can spend per turn. You want to make sure that you get the greatest outcome you can with the small amount of leverage that you have. So the game does a really good job of making things transparent and easy to understand, and that includes the statuses and curses for sure.
Yeah. Obviously like I think like it's so annoying sometimes just getting like them stacked in like a fight. Like you'll just get like several like of the status effects that just like are like, oh, okay, no, you just cannot cast anything in your hand because you have such little mana. I've ran into one that just subtracted mine by one, and it was like the most annoying thing because I could cast nothing. I was like, okay, I just die here. Good. I love this game.
I think the most annoying. Okay, actually, the most annoying and yet at the same time the most fun one that I ever ran into is the Sneeko. If you ever, they're called like Sneeko. It's a specific enemy. They mix up the cost of all your cards in your deck. So like cards that were like super useful that I ran, especially with like the silent, a lot of like I was talking about, everything costs 0 and I love it. Like all the cards that usually cost 0 now cost 3.
Yeah.
And I was like, God damn it, I can't do anything.
Yeah, that's the worst, honestly.
But also it's made it a lot more fun because then I could play like cards that usually cost 3 for 0, and like it was a lot of fun. Like it was terrible and awful some of the time, but also the other half of the time it was like really fun. So I don't know. I really enjoyed it.
Right. Gotta think
Anything,
on your feet constantly.
anything else you want to add about statuses and curses though?
No, honestly, they'll either completely give you something awesome, which most of the time like feels like it definitely adds like something, but I swear the debuffs feel so much worse in this game. Like I always remember curses and debuffs over everything, like bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
Like so.
Yeah, you remember the bad more than the good. I feel that. Also,
Right.
you gotta that's where we were talking earlier. We were talking about how there's ways to remove cards from your deck. So like if you get a curse in your deck, you can remove it via means a random encounter or specifically a merchant at a shop can remove it. So that's why earlier when I said, oh yeah, you can remove cards. We'll talk about that later. That's what I was talking about. You can remove cards that affect your deck negatively as well as positively.
Yeah, honestly, it's really just a matter of like getting the right thing at the right time and making sure you can manage your deck appropriately is like this game is basically about, I say at the core of it, deck management as you go. Like, and I really like that. It reminds me of like if anyone has ever been to like a Magic thing where you're building a deck, and you're playing in a tournament right there with it. Except imagine you have to like build the deck and play with it as you go. Like, and that's pretty cool because that's almost nostalgic to me.
Definitely. I forgot what I was gonna say completely, but no, it definitely it builds on itself in a way that I don't think a lot of other games do. Like it keeps you consistently learning, which is really cool.
Yeah.
It's impossible for me to get bored of that game because it just like it changes consistently and it adds and subtracts and things aren't always going to be the same, and I think that's really cool. Along the same lines, I wanted to talk about relics and blights. Relics are, simply put, things that affect your game, like little objects you get that affect your gameplay. And blights are relics affect them generally positively, and blights affect them generally negatively. Like that's you can get them either at the end of fights with regular opponents or at random encounters, or you can buy them in the shop. So like you can choose what they are sometimes, or they randomly will just get added to you. Every character does start with their own personal relic that affects their gameplay as well. And as far as I know, and I didn't look up these statistics or like the actual gameplay about this, but I've had a lot of relics and I never found a cap to it. I had like 20 at one point. So
No,
I
you
don't
can
know.
just stack them. It gets ridiculous.
So it's just another thing that affects your gameplay in either a positive or a negative way. I think relics are incredibly important. I use them a lot in my gameplay, but I'm interested to hear if you do as well, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, relics are definitely the way to go, especially with the way you're building like your deck. It's important to get like the right ones, the right buffs you need. And blights are just terrible to get because those also affect your game the entire game. Like when we were talking about debuffs and the status effects earlier, except during like not just the fight, it's the entire round. So like blights can equally fuck you over as much as relics can boost you to another level.
Definitely. And that's just honestly everything in this game. I think the main thing is that everything in this game is dead simple. And when you hear someone talk about it, you're like, wow, that sounds complicated. Like most average people I know who aren't my like close friends, when they think about like the deck builders, they're like, that sounds complicated. But like when you actually look at this game, it's just like some things affect you negatively, some things affect you positively, and everything is a jumble fuck of randomness. That's the game.
Right?
And like the only way to get through it is to play it, and it's totally so much fun. Along the same lines, and one more thing to mention, that there is potions in the game that, again, some affect you positively, some affect you negatively, and you get to choose when to use them, and they usually only affect that like turn or round or encounter. So they're temporary. I would assume that it's easy to just describe them as temporary relics, honestly.
Yeah. Like all those, like they basically fit in the category of like a lot of status effects that affect your game, but each in their own like separate yet meaningful way that they are distinguishable and have like just as good or bad effects as one another. So
Definitely. Was there anything else you want to talk about in features and content?
probably just a couple things to hit on. Like if you've never played like the Ascension mode, this is like even like if you want like even more like reasons to come back, like if you think this game is already not hard enough, which trust me, getting to the top of the spire is gonna challenge you already. But there's an even harder mode called Ascension mode that just adds like even more challenges and even harder like modes in this game just to fuck with you even more. Like enemies are definitely harder and they'll throw way more curveballs at you than you were ever expecting. So Ascension mode is not for the faint of heart, let me tell you.
Definitely. I think you fully covered it there. I don't feel like I need to add anything else. I mean, speaking of game modes, though, I will say that there also is a daily run mode. If you like
Oh
really
yeah.
like this game and you just really like you just want to you don't want to have to choose things. You just want to like get thrown into a game. There's a run that changes every day that across the world everyone has the same run and gets the same deck and blah blah blah. And you can play that and see if you can get the leaderboards and get rewards with that too. So if this is your type of game and you really like deck builders, daily run mode is a really cool option if you don't have much time and you just want to play it or challenge yourself into something different.
Right. Yeah, it's really cool to see those leaderboards definitely change every single day, and like like the community behind it is really cool. And just saying like that, like I think this game is available on multiple platforms, and I'm not saying this to boost Steam, but probably get this on Steam if you can. And that's because the community on it is fucking awesome in this game. They've made custom enemies, bosses, and characters for this game that you can just download right from the Steam store. And let me tell you, if you already like the 4 characters, they add like fucking 20, that you can play as and download and fucking just add more to this game. It's begging for you to come back, and the community behind it is really something cool to behold, something like that's like, it's in other games, but the amount they've allowed in that you can like mod in like really well, and the amount of care people have put into the cards and elements of this game, it adds to it seamlessly and perfectly, I think, So
Yeah,
it's
and
anything from something really serious to really funny, and it just is really cool,
100%. And to add on to that, like it's just like the community aspect of this game. I was talking to someone who I had never talked to before. I was in a my friend invited me to their Discord that I'd never been in. I was in a Discord. They're like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I'm trying this game called Slay the Spire." This dude just like lost his mind about it. He's like, "I fucking love Slay the Spire," and like everyone else in the call, there was like 4 other people just all of a sudden turned in like, "I love Slay the Spire." Like, so like it's the community behind it is so incredibly passionate and driven to make this game the best it could be, and it's just so cool that you like I had never played it. I never talked to anyone about it, and randomly the first time I played it, I met a bunch of other people that played it. So like it is a really interesting, unique concept, especially behind something that I don't think a lot of people really give credit for, which is deck building. Deck building is overlooked a lot of time because like we said, like you get into the meta, it's really boring, and people who usually play it are kind of snobs most of the time. But this deck builder is completely void of all the things I hate about deck builders.
Yeah, deck building games stop being fun when you stop building the deck. And this game, you never stop building your deck. So it's always fucking adding something new and fun,
Yeah, or just changing your deck completely and making it start over. Like that's always fun for me. Like we said, the element of chaos is a huge part of the game itself.
Yeah.
Awesome. Was there anything else you want to talk about for features and content?
No, I think that's basically all I can really think of covering this game, honestly.
I will say that the last thing I wanted to add, I think I already mentioned it, but just in case I didn't, there is 3, I think, levels with 1 major boss at the end of the level, and it's kind of like a pick your own adventure up to the top. Like you basically get to just click where you want to go, and it's like every click is a different thing. There's either an enemy or a shop or a random encounter or a big enemy. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's really dead simple, and there's no right or wrong way to play it. It's very choose your own adventure style, which I like a lot. And I don't think we mentioned that, so I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware.
Yeah, it really just adds to even more of the roguelike kind of fun elements, that keep you wanting to come back,
It kind of feels like when you're doing like a dungeon crawl and I don't know, like say like Enter the Gungeon, Call to the Lamb, Dead Cells, like any of that kind of stuff, and you get to the next room. The next room is just a different encounter every time. Like that's how it feels.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's talk about movement and controls.
Movement and controls.
Along the same lines with the storyline in this game, there's not much to talk about with movement and controls.
Nah.
I have played it with both a mouse and keyboard and a controller. I would prefer it with a controller, but my controller is broken right now. So I had to play with mouse and keyboard. Basically, it's just point and click, or
Yeah.
controller point and click, kind of like control and click, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do you control a card game? It's just, super easy.
Select target.
Mm-hmm.
The end. That's simple. And there's nothing wrong with that. It does. I don't feel like it. I don't feel like it took me out of the game at all to do that, because like, I mean, we talked about other games, like I think it was like episode 4 or 5 where we talked about Swag and Sorcery. That was a point and click game that I just could not get into because the point and click felt kind of clunky. This game's point and click is very flawless and very smooth. You do not feel clunky at all. In fact, I felt like really elegant when I was playing. Like I'd had my controller out and I was just like leaning back and be like, all right, that's my turn. That's my turn. Like it was like really smooth and really fast in
Right.
comparison to other point and click things that I've played in my life.
Yeah, it can be as fast or as strategic as you want it to be.
Yeah, but either way, I was just stressing that it's felt smooth for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's pretty much it. Let's move on to closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts.
I don't really. I mean, it was a fast game. I will say that this is a fast episode because there's not much storyline, there's not much moving controls, and at the end of the day, it just embraces the concepts of roguelike and deck builder. So this was a shorter episode, but I feel like this is a game that people should check out, and there is reasons why. So let's talk about them. Where's the replayability factor for you, Tom, on this one?
Super high. I mean, like one of the highest for sure. Like it's like a solid like 9.5. Like, I mean, you're never gonna get the same experience even if you're constantly playing the same character. And we've explained the reasons pretty much why it's completely replayable. Like every single run, no matter what, it's gonna be different. So
definitely, I completely agree with you. It's like 9.5. It may even be a 10 for me, honestly. Like it's such a good replayable game. Like you said, every run is completely different, and then like not even we didn't even mention two things here. There's also a level up factor. Like when you play a character a lot, you get more cards added to their deck. You unlock more characters. You unlock more things, and also along the same line, something we forgot. You can level up your cards as well in the game. We totally forgot to mention that in features and content, but that's just like you can level up. Like your cards get better, you get more stuff, your cards get stronger. And I think that itself makes the game incredibly replayable as well.
yeah, it no matter what, like you're just gonna be drawn to play this game again and again and again. So
Where would you put it on a fun factor?
I would put it at like a solid like 9, but I am a bit biased because again, I am a card playing fan. I think I mean, I don't think if you're like a card playing fan, you probably get like enjoyment out of this game anyway as much, but I feel like from that perspective, like, yeah, this is one of my more fresh, more fun takes I've played in a while. This scratches the itch that I always have for card building games, especially like when it's like hard to get like all your friends together and shit, and your card games go to hell anyway because you drink way too much in the first round of Magic the Gathering. So
He's not pointing fingers. He's just looking right at me.
I'm not looking right at you. I'm looking at like the entire friend group we have that is way too lightweight, that like they drink like 2 beers and they can't fucking remember what they're playing. Like, so.
But no, I agree with you completely. The fun factor is relatively high for me as well. I'd probably put it at 8.5. It's super enjoyable. It's different every time. The characters are unique. It keeps you interested, and there's multiple ways to play. Like, what's not to like about it, for sure.
Right.
Did you have a favorite or a favorite and a least favorite part of this game?
Let's see. My favorite part, definitely the deck building. Like it never gets old. Never, like it always adds that fun layer of strategy, and it just keeps me wanting to come back. I'd say like my least favorite part is probably like after a while, just enemies feel a bit like repetitive once you get to know like everybody and whatnot. Like they just kind of turn into the same type. They're always stacked a little bit differently. But you'll just get a little bit more used to them like after like a long while of playing. But they're still fresh enough. I'd say that's about my only gripe. So.
Definitely. I think that my favorite part was definitely a specific thing. It was I really like the silent. I like their play style. I had a really good time with them. Feels like you're playing like a sick ninja rogue thing with poison. Super fun.
Right.
My least favorite, I'm trying to think, sorry. I would have to. I think I have to agree with you that it's probably the. Or actually, I would like there to be story. I think that's my least favorite. I'd like there to be a story. I
Yeah.
think that this game could benefit
Why are
incredibly
you at
well
this
from a story.
spire? You know, you want to
Yeah.
slay it, but why do you want to slay it?
I mean, it doesn't need a story, but I am a sucker for a good story. So like, throw it on there, throw it on top.
Right? We're
Like,
asking
make
for a
it.
story in a card building game, but still give us a little bit of something. You know? Yeah.
I don't even think it's that far fetched. Like, it's got a great setup. Like, it looks like it should have story. It's really weird to me that it doesn't. That's like my only thing where I'm like, why doesn't this game have story?
Yeah, I dug for it. Like I said, like I was like, I'm like scrolling through, making our general outline. I'm like, where the fuck is the story? I'm like looking at Reddit pages of like just super obscure fucking people, you know, like I always do for these indie games. I'm like, there's literally nothing, you know, like I mean, you click Hollow Knight and you can't get fucking enough of this. You click this game, it's like nobody even fucking whispered a story. They're like, you know what? Let's make a whole beautiful, awesome game, but not write a single thing about this world, you know?
Yeah, like, because I feel like the world would be really compelling based on your characters and like what the spire is, like any of it. Like, just it would be compelling. I think.
Give me
And
a
I was
backstory at least on why they came to the Spire, you know? That's all I'm
Yeah, it
asking
could be
for.
minimal. Could be minimal, but that's my one gripe for sure. Is there any games that this reminds you of, Tom?
Let me think here. I know let's see, Griftlands I know is one I've heard of that's kind of like another roguelike kind of deck builder like this. Otherwise, like online wise, I know I've played a lot of Gwent and we've said Hearthstone, but those don't even scratch the surface on what this kind of game is going for. If you're looking for kind of a deck building game that is different, is going to scratch your itch every time, I definitely suggest this one.
For sure. I think that the only game that I can even think that it's slightly comparable to is definitely another deck building. I don't know if it's like a roguelike, but it is a deck building game that's different, and that's Inscription. And I've seen a lot of
Yeah.
hype about Inscription in the last couple of years. I watched my friends play it, so I can verify that it's similar in spirit to this game, but not in play style. Like, that's the main thing. It's a different deck builder. As far as other games that are like it, I mean, like Tom said, there's not a lot that adds the roguelike element. But if you're looking for other deck builders online, MTG Duels, obviously, Yu-Gi-Oh! Dual decks or whatever online, like that kind of stuff. If you're looking for deck builders, those are classics. But other than that, anything that's weird with deck building, Inscription is the only thing that comes to mind.
Yeah.
All right. And then how much would you recommend the game, and who would you recommend it to?
I would definitely I mean, it takes those specific kind of people to kind of love this game, but I mean, to any deck building or kind of I guess card fan, I would recommend this like a solid 9 too, you know? I mean, in general audience, I feel like this would be a nice 8 kind of game just to get you like a nice kind of break and if you want to learn something different, you know? But I mean, if card games aren't your thing, you're probably not going to really like this game, but yeah, I'd say for the right audience, this is a solid 9.
I think I have to pretty much agree with you completely. And for the right audience, which if you're into card builders, or deck builders, you're into deck builders. Like, this is definitely a game that I think that most people who enjoy deck builders would enjoy and will enjoy. For the average person, I'm gonna put it a little lower than you though. I think that the average person would probably think this is like a 6 because it doesn't have any of the wow factor that a lot of other games have. It looks great,
true.
it feels great to play, but I think that a lot of people just unfortunately don't like deck builders because it requires them to build a deck, and it does. People want to shoot things; they don't want to build a deck most of the time, in my experience. With that being
Little
said,
tear runs down my face, like smallest violin.
dude, I loved this game. I really did enjoy this game, but
yeah,
like I know that most people just don't have it in them to try to build a deck. Unfortunately, it's just not for even though I consider this game dead simple. I know for the average person, it would be something that they may not love, but for the right person, it's definitely be a 9. And that right person is anyone that's played any card game and liked it.
I was like, yeah, dead simple. As we grew up playing Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh, which requires so many different strategies and so many ways to prepare for different people's decks. That's unbelievable. So
Definitely. Well, with that being said, I think I only have one last thing to say before I do the outro, and it's me asking the creators of this game to make a mobile port, because I'm gonna be honest, if you make a mobile port, I'm gonna play this game a lot more, like all the time. Like I think this would be the perfect game to have as a mobile port. I
Yeah.
don't think I'd ever get off my phone. Like
Yeah.
anytime I had a free moment, I'd be playing it.
That shit would be addictive, y'all. Like, not even gonna lie. Like, you would have people just losing their job over playing fucking Slay the Spire at work. So
For sure, I'd just be like sitting there and be like, okay, all right. Also, it would be kind of cool to have a multiplayer mode. Those are like my two suggestions for this game. I guess we could add a suggestions category at some point on the podcast. That's
Right.
my suggestion: multiplayer and mobile port.
yeah, I think I would agree for that.
And contact us if you want a franchise. I guess. Look at it. All right. Well, I think that's all we got to say about this game, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice, solid, awesome experience for what it is, I think. So
For sure. It doesn't try too hard to be anything that it's not, and what it tries to be, it excels at, which is roguelike deck builder, which are, again, two things that I never thought I'd say in the same sentence.
right.
All right, guys. Well, with that being said, if you're a developer that wants to talk to us about your indie game, you can send us an email. It's blockbrospodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's blockbrospodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to rate us on whatever service you listen to us on. It really helps us get more people listening to us and gets us out to advertisers. Block Bros Podcast is a live podcast. It streams to Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube every Tuesday night around 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you want to see our pretty faces, that's where we'll be. You can also find our replays on YouTube. The opening music is 8-Bit Fun by the Heatley Bros. And if you want to see us talk about any game in particular, drop us a line on any social. It's Block Bros Pod or Block Bros Podcast. And of course, guys, Block Bros Podcast is and always will be a Lost Cause media production. We'll catch you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
Lost Cause Media.